The day I was diagnosed with stomach cancer at the hospital happened to be the last day of my 3-year contract marriage with Sophia. Sophia couldn't wait to toss the divorce papers in front of me and then turn away to find her true love. When she saw me calmly sign the agreement, her expression softened for a moment. "You're not making a fuss this time?" she asked. I lowered my eyes. "No, I'm done." I disappeared into the snowy winter night. Later, she searched the whole world but never got to see me one last time. When I got out of the hospital, it started snowing lightly. The flakes floated like tiny, free-spirited fairies. I exhaled a breath of white mist, pulled out my phone to text Sophia but decided to just catch a ride back instead. She was probably busy with the divorce. Today marked the end of our contract marriage. She put up with me for 3 years for the company's and Maria's approval. Sure enough, as I got home, there she was with her icy glare. She always waited for me like that. Before the snow on my coat had even melted, she eagerly pushed the signed divorce papers to me. I habitually took the papers and looked them over. "Is the money enough?" I asked. "If not, I can give you more." Her mocking tone was like snow settling on my heart. "I'll give you anything you want. Just don't show up in front of me and Jerry again." Seeing me silent, she probably thought I was up to something. "Maria's gone, and no one will buy your act anymore," she said. I stood there dazed for a moment, then signed my name calmly. "All right." She didn't expect me to give in so easily. "You're not making a fuss, right?" she asked again. In the past, I refused to divorce no matter what. But now, I no longer cared. I clenched the stomach cancer diagnosis in my pocket and said in a low voice, "No, I'm done." My stomach cancer was already in the middle to late stages. I'd have no energy to fuss anymore. My attitude was so calm that she couldn't help but be curious. "It's your first time being so sensible." "I'm not used to it." "Is it because Maria's gone and you found a conscience?" I was just heading upstairs to pack, but without turning back, I said, "I'll say it one last time. Maria's death had nothing to do with me." She gave a cold laugh, her brows etched with unyielding frost. I didn't have much to take, just a few clothes and knickknacks. I left with nothing, just like how I brought nothing when I came. When I got downstairs, I found her waiting at the door for Jerry. They stood in the snow, his hurried footprints a testament to him rushing into her arms. He laughed freely, tiny ice crystals clinging to his lashes, his rosy cheeks cradled gently by her hands, as if he was her greatest treasure. "Why did you run here like that?" Sophia's voice held a playful scolding. "Because I wanted to see you." Jerry's cheerful laugh rang out, reaching my ears. Sophia held him even tighter, brushing the snow from his head. My throat tightened. "Next time, I'll pick you up. You'll catch a cold like this." Pretending not to hear, I walked past the loving pair. Snowflakes fell on my shoulders, quickly forming a thick layer of white, but I didn't feel the cold at all. "Hey, George," Jerry called out, tossing a dirty little toy in front of me. "Sophia gave this to me, but I think it's too ugly. You can have it back." I gave Jerry a long look and then bent down to pick it up. He pretended to be scared and hid behind Sophia. "He looks so scary," he said. I opened my mouth to speak, but ended up saying nothing. Sophia stood across from me in the wind and snow. I couldn't quite make out her face. "Goodbye, George. I hope we never see each other again," she said. The snow fell harder. I stood in the winter night, starting to feel lost. I reached out to catch the snowflakes. Tiny ice pieces landed in my hand and slowly melted. My palm chilled like wind-blown tears. I pulled out the diagnosis again, read through it carefully, then tore it to pieces and tossed it into the snow. I had tried my best to love her. I really had. Both of my meetings with Sophia were by chance. The first time, I risked my life as a kid to save her from drowning. She left a small jade pendant with me, telling me to find her in City C when I grew up. I believed her. The second time happened after the pendant was stolen, and she saved me from a dire situation. She looked at my frightened expression and asked if I wanted to make a deal. So, to please Maria, I became her husband in name only. We got married quickly, and Sophia naturally took over the company as a director. She said, "I'll rent you for 3 years. After that, we divorce." I lowered my eyes, hiding the loss and disappointment in them. Why didn't she recognize me? Why was she so cold? But when I saw her for the first time, I recognized her as the girl I saved that day. Without the pendant, though, she didn't recognize me. But I had already fallen for her. Back then, I was naive, thinking she'd remember our history without the pendant. Sophia played hard to get, and I couldn't tell if she loved me. But every time in front of Maria, her warmth softened my heart. If it was all an act, it was an impressive one. I was genuinely moved. Sophia was a formidable person. Every time she left Maria's study, her gentleness vanished instantly, and her indifferent eyes left me feeling empty. That's why I liked going to Maria. I thought it would make her love me more. Is it possible that if I keep saving up all my feelings, I can put my heart on her? Maria likes me too. She even told Sophia not to go after that boy. Maybe George is the one you're looking for? But women can be stubborn. She shook her head. He doesn't have the jade pendant. He's not the one. A bitter smile crept across my face as I nodded. Yeah, I really don't. My jade pendant was taken by some thugs. Until one day, I saw it around Jerry's neck. The moment I noticed Sophia's intense gaze on it, I knew. Her heart went along with the pendant. I waited forever to finally catch a taxi. The headlights brought me back to reality. I got into the cab, told the driver to get me to the airport. Outside, the night was full of falling snow. Only the engine hum shattered the silence. Warmth filled the car, and I started to drift to sleep. When I woke up, the driver kindly informed me we'd arrived at the airport. I looked around and chose the fastest flight out of there. I hate this city, but apart from the orphanage, I have nowhere to go. I don't want to return to that deserted town. I can't stand Sophia either. I hate her phoniness, her indifference, her betrayal, and how she mistook a fake jewel for the real thing. My stomach twisted painfully, reminding me of something. So I bought some hot fast food and ate it slowly at the airport at 4 a.m. My appetite was non-existent, and after a few bites I felt nauseous. Tears of frustration welled up. I've always hated waste. I detest the weak person I've become. Sophia's judgmental gaze still lingers in my mind, like I was trash to her. She accused me of acting, of faking it, just because I didn't want to eat Jerry's cooking. Her malicious smile flashed briefly, replaced by pitiful tears. The pendant hung boldly on his waist, a symbol of how Sophia and I met. But now it's become his trophy. George doesn't seem to like my cooking. He asked cautiously, "Does it not suit your taste?" That dish was loaded with crushed bell peppers, mixed into the rice as if inseparable. He knew I was allergic to bell peppers. "George makes you dinner and you're being so picky? Is it just that you can't stand him?" She snapped before I could voice my allergy. "I think you're just spoiled, showing attitude towards Jerry." Her face frost-coated with resentment, acting like I was to blame. "Seems like I've been too easy on you." To prove her wrong, I forced myself to eat the peppers mouthful by mouthful. My body broke out in hives and it became hard to breathe. Only then did a shred of panic and guilt cross her eyes. Jerry claimed he didn't know, yet there I lay in the hospital with no apology offered. The boarding call sounded, and I left the city behind. After I was gone, Sophia began planning her wedding to Jerry. 2 decades later, she finally got her company and the man she truly loved. But she couldn't shake off this strange anxiety, like a sixth sense. She'd visit Maria's grave for answers, but only got the sound of snow in response. "Maria, I found the boy with the jade pendant. But why can't I let go of that other man?" The day he left, his eyes were devoid of emotion. It was unsettlingly calm. A stuffed toy taken by Jerry pained her when he crouched to pick it up. Sophia's heart ached watching it. That wasn't the George she knew. He would have never done that. Had he accepted his fate, or had he let go? The house got much quieter without him. Sophia sometimes nostalgically thought about the times they visited Grandma together. The warm yellow sunset lit up the room, casting drifting dust revealed by its rays. The boys' laughter accidentally fell into her vision, clean and pure like winter sunlight. How she wished these moments could last forever. Her own thoughts startled her. She glanced at Jerry asleep beside her. The jade pendant still shimmered gently on the nightstand. Was it truly her mistake then? After all, the pendant was rightfully Jerry's, wasn't it? George had no proof. Why should she trust him? As she gazed out at the falling snowflakes, she thought about how he left on such a night too. What was he doing now? Was he cold? With the little luggage I had, I boarded the plane. Staring out at the snowed landscape, I realized I hadn't had a chance to see Maria one last time. That granny with the gray hair and sharp eyes, but who smiled sweetly at me. The one who treated me best at home. She'd whisper, telling me not to care about the pendant's owner. To her, it didn't matter. George was her granddaughter's savior. Her warm yet piercing gaze seemed to see through things, reaching their essence. She saw my love for Sophia and, even when Jerry showed up with the pendant, she considered me her only grandson-in-law. She'd scold Sophia for being narrow-minded, like her blind mother, only seeing the pendant and not the person. Sophia was stubborn, unwilling to accept it. It was their first serious argument. As time passed, Maria's health rapidly declined. She knew her days were numbered. She worried about my relationship with Sophia, but having already handed the company over to Sophia, she was powerless. One rainy night, after Sophia upset me again, I had a strong feeling and braved the storm to reach Grandma's hospital room. She was too weak to stand, lying there exhausted, but her dim eyes lit up when she saw me. Her back, proud and straight all her life, sagged for the first time under the weight of age. I, full of unspoken hurt, wept by her bedside silently. She reached out with her cold, worn hand, gently stroking my head. To Grandma, in her eyes, we were forever just children. She doesn't believe me, I sobbed, swallowing the bitterness of my tears. Sophia doesn't believe me. She said she doesn't believe my BS. She doesn't trust me. But, I can't stop crying. My cheeks are flushed and burning from the tears. But I'm the one who saved her. Seeing me look so wretched, she gently lifted my chin. George, remember this. It doesn't matter whose jade pendant it is. What matters is if she truly loves you. If she loves you enough, she'll believe you. Grandma knows everything. She can see the fake affection in Sophia's eyes, which is really just an empty shell. Feeling embarrassed for losing composure, I quickly said goodbye to Grandma and ran out of the hospital. The next morning, Maria passed away. I became the last person to see her. Sophia listened to Jerry. She believed I must have whispered something into Grandma's ear which led to her death. With tears in my eyes, I asked her incredulously, "We've been married for almost 3 years, and you don't want to believe a word I say? Sophia, don't you think that's ridiculous?" Her gaze hardened. "George, don't forget your place," she said coldly. Jerry nestled against her, softly agreeing. "If I hadn't exposed your antics to Sophia beforehand, she might have been fooled by you." Yeah, he had guessed I would confess everything to Sophia, so he struck first, throwing dirt at me. The most crucial point is, the jade pendant isn't with me. Even if I painted a picture with every detail, she wouldn't believe me. Oh, what a great move you made, trying to use Grandma as a crutch. But who knew your words would stir her emotions so much that she... Why would you insist on seeing her the night before she passed, even through the pouring rain? I lowered my head in agony, overwhelmed by sorrow. But in Sophia's eyes, this only made me look guilty. The more she looked at me, the angrier she got, and ordered to lock me up, preventing me from attending Maria's funeral. I never got to see Maria one last time. "Excuse me, sir, do you need any help?" The kind voice of the flight attendant pulled me back from my thoughts into reality. I gratefully accepted the clean towel from her, wiping away my tears haphazardly. Maria was right, Sophia and I were never meant to be. Looking out the window, there seems to be a faint glimmer of dawn. After Grandma passed, my divorce with Sophia loomed nearer day by day. She became even more unrestrained, disappearing through the night, staying with Jerry. From hysterical fits to crying in despair, and finally to a peaceful acceptance, I became accustomed. I began to feel tired. I wanted my heart to rest. Jerry's constant meddling made Sophia hate me even more. To her, I was a clown trying to take Jerry's place. A husband in name only, hoping to win her true feelings? But did she really not love me at all? Not exactly. For these 3 years, she never shortchanged me. She tried to accommodate my needs. She accepted my gifts graciously. I didn't see disgust, nor joy. Once, due to a misunderstanding caused by Jerry, she screamed at me again. I couldn't stand it and had a big fight with her, accusing her of only caring about the pendant and not distinguishing right from wrong. Furious, she raised her hand to hit me. I admit, in that moment I was in despair. To realize she could be so heartless for another man. I might have been a contractual husband, but legally, I'm still her partner. I've stayed with her for 3 years, investing countless emotions and effort. I loved with all I had, and she dared to raise a hand at me just because of a few words from Jerry. I cried out till my voice cracked, each word a struggle. Hit me, go ahead. You have the guts. Beat me to death. Grandma's watching you. She won't forgive you. My tears, mixed with fury, caught the woman off guard. In her mind, I've always been easygoing and mild-mannered. I told you it wasn't me. Why can't you just believe me? I shouted, pointing at both of them. You let the cat out, but you're blaming me for driving it away. Are there no cameras at home? You'd rather trust his babbling than check the footage yourself. Grandma's passing. The pendant, you never respected me. You only believed what you saw yourself. At the sight of my heart-wrenching indignation, Sophia couldn't help but speak gently. Okay, stop crying. She awkwardly tried to console me, only to have her hand slapped away. Don't touch me. Heartbroken and breathless, I stumbled away, with Jerry watching cheerfully. In the middle of the night, tossing and turning, I snuck out to sit on the swing, dumbfounded. I hated my weakness, my inability to defeat Jerry. He had power and means. I was just an orphan raised in a welfare home. I was helpless. Thinking of Grandma, tears began to fall once more. Suddenly, there was another presence beside me, breaking the silence of the night with a soft apology. I'm sorry about tonight. I turned to find Sophia standing next to me, with that toy peeking from her pocket. The night wind was chilly. I wrapped my robe tighter and sniffled. What are you doing here? To apologize. I shouldn't have thought of hitting you tonight. In the dark, her eyes shimmered like onyx, threatening to draw me in. Give me back the toy. I held out my hand, annoyed. No, you gave it to me. She pressed her lips and murmured. If you don't love me, give it back. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. You know, our agreement didn't include that. We'd made a pact neither of us was obligated to respond to the other's feelings. I stopped, then forced a bitter smile. Right, it wasn't in the contract. But I couldn't believe I was the only one breaking it. Sophia, is seeing really believing? In the dark, I couldn't quite make out her expression. Was it curiosity or confusion? Without waiting for her response, I left quietly. My stomach hurt. The plane landed, and I reached the other side of the ocean. I didn't know where I was exactly. I just knew my head felt foggy, as if I were dreaming. Until I saw the toy in my hand. It hit me. I was awake. Sophia and I were divorced. Even with life counting down, I wanted to enjoy the most beautiful twilight of my existence. I wasn't afraid of dying, because my heart had already died once. Only my body was still alive. If there's one thing I really regret, it's not seeing Grandma one last time before I left the city. We aren't blood related, but she's more like family than anyone else. Don't worry, Grandma. I'll come find you soon. After landing and catching a nap, I took some painkillers and headed to the beach. I missed the ocean so much. In over 20 years, I've only been there once with Sophia. The winter beach was empty. I kneeled down, touched the icy water, and the wind hit my face. My head felt clearer. It's different from the warm beach I saw last time. But I like it too. Why am I only just now seeing the beauty of life? Was I trapped by the constraints of that jade pendant? Now, whoever Sophia likes or plans to marry has nothing to do with me. I can feel my love for her fading. That's a good thing. I stayed here for a while until my stomach pains became too frequent and even painkillers couldn't help. I had to check into the hospital. In just half a month, things got worse. It's terminal. I know I don't have long, Sophia's digital invitation popped up on my phone. She sent her location, wanting me to witness her wedding. I looked at my reports. The cancer's spreading fast. The doctor asked if I wanted chemo. I just shook my head with a smile. No. I blocked Sophia. Now, way over in City C, she wanted to call but couldn't get through. A sharp pain hit her heart. At her wedding, she was waiting for me to cause a scene. But I didn't show. Her forehead throbbed, and the unease grew. Sophia couldn't sit still. She tracked my finances and found I'd checked into a hospital abroad. A servant found some scraps with my name nearby. Everything pointed to the worst. She frantically searched for more details, piecing together the hospital info. But when Sophia saw, she was frozen in shock. Her eyes turned red as she shouted at the doctor, pointing at my report. How could this be? George can't have stomach cancer. Is this more of his act? You must be in on this. How much did he pay you? I'll double it. But on hearing her rant, the doctor just looked at her strangely. No one would joke about their own death, ma'am. Sophia suddenly felt drained. She collapsed into a chair. Maria's words hit her hard. The jade pendant doesn't tell all, use your heart. In a daze, she remembered me in the night, with hope and defiance asking, does seeing really mean believing? She booked a private plane for abroad but found nothing. Her hands shook from anxiety. Sophia didn't love George but couldn't stand the thought of him dying. She didn't know why she felt this way, with her heart racing and the churn of emotions. Sophia left Jerry behind. She vaguely suspected something about him, but right now she wanted to find out about George. But when she rushed to the hospital, they told her the patient in room 12 had already left. She asked everyone but found no sign of him. He was a cheerful, stubborn guy. He declined chemo and left a couple of days ago. No one knew where he went. Sophia looked over the bustling crowds, feeling helpless for the first time. She discovered George had donated all the divorce settlement money to the local orphanage. He kept nothing for himself. Such a frail, pale George, where could he have gone? Sophia didn't want to admit she was searching for George out of love. She just wanted answers about the jade pendant. Sophia decided to visit each orphanage one by one. Her heart felt heavy, almost suffocating her. She missed the doll, but Jerry had given it back. Recalling Grandma's funeral, she hadn't even let George say goodbye. Sophia finally realized how excessive she had been. A bit too harsh on him. But maybe it's too late. Just before leaving the hospital, I called Jerry. A deep voice answered. Hello? Weakly, I said, Jerry, congrats on the wedding. He chuckled. Thanks for stepping aside, George. You lost. Whether it's the pendant or Sophia, you lost. Even through the phone, I could feel Jerry's victorious grin. I did lose, but you might not win for long. I looked down at my 4-ridden hand and let out a deep sigh. Jealous? He chuckled, covering his mouth. Not at all. You can have it if you want. I don't need it. I smiled serenely as the nurse changed my 4. You can't swim, can you? Trauma, such a convenient excuse. I spoke slowly. The man on the other end fell silent. What of it? You never beat me, you know? I said softly, whatever you stole will come back to bite you. Taking what isn't yours will end in the same harm. Good night, Jerry. When Sophia doubts, be ready to answer. Wait, what do you... I hung up, feeling a bit lighter. I wanted revenge against him, but without a healthy body, there's little I could do. I asked the doctor to discharge me tomorrow. I don't want my final days in such a cold place. I'd rather die in the sun in the springtime. But spring isn't coming for me. The pain's wrecking me. Cancer's eating up my life. I really want to live. I struggled from the orphanage, but life dealt me a cruel hand. The gifts from fate come with hidden price tags. Maybe I shouldn't have trusted Sophia's promises from the start. A woman's promise can often mean nothing. I decided I want to see the sea again. Even though Country A is covered in snow right now, I still want to see it. I hope Sophia never finds this place. Sophia found out about everything. She came home with a dark look on her face and angrily shouted at the man who was playfully teasing the cat. Jerry. The cat in his arms ran off, and Jerry turned as pale as a ghost. A storm brewed in her eyes, and the wind and snow outside seemed to chill him to the bone. "What happened?" he asked, trying to suppress his panic with his usual cheerful smile. "Why are you so worked up today? Is there something you want to confess to me?" The woman smiled instead of getting angry, her dark eyes filled with suspicion, as if she could see right through Jerry. "What are you talking about, sis? I don't understand. Stop pretending. Can you swim or not?" She advanced on him like a hunting beast. Jerry's heart pounded with fear, cold sweat drenching his back. "Did you find the jade pendant or take it?" "Huh?" Jerry was terrified, losing his composure altogether and stammering. "Did George tell you something? That annoying guy, he just won't go away." "Enough!" she snapped, crouching down to pinch Jerry's face harshly. He cried out in pain, tears streaming down, begging for mercy. "Don't answer my questions with questions. My patience is wearing thin." Jerry was scared out of his mind. It was the first time he felt murderous intent from this woman. If he didn't talk, Sophia had 100 ways to make him confess. "Didn't you always believe I was the one who saved you? I almost drowned trying to save you and was so scared I never dared to swim again." The man was teary-eyed. "Don't you trust me anymore?" Usually, a woman's heart would melt at the sight of tears, but all she could think about was the image of George's swollen, desperate eyes. For the first time, she felt annoyed by Jerry's tears. "So tell me, what was I wearing that day? When did you get the jade pendant? Where did you save me?" Jerry thought he had rehearsed my answers thoroughly. But as soon as he started, the woman's eyebrows furrowed. "No, that's not right. I wasn't wearing black that day." "Not black?" He felt his pulse quicken and his breathing become erratic. "I was wearing white." "Oh, white. Yeah, it's been so long ago, I can barely remember." But the woman's expression just grew colder. People unfamiliar with reality are easily led by psychological hints, which meant for the past half-year, she had been totally wrong. The truth was just as Grandma said. George was the boy who had saved her. Looking at the pale man in front of her, she laughed coldly. "You know whether you saved me or not." "Actually, I was wearing black that day." Everything was crystal clear, like seeing the sun after the clouds have cleared. Jerry was stunned for a moment, then completely deflated. He never imagined Sophia would doubt him one day. "I'll deal with you when I get back." With that, she turned and boarded a flight to Country A, leaving Jerry, heartbroken and trembling, to await his judgment. Sophia felt awful. For the sake of a meaningless pendant, she hurt the one she truly loved. And now, she's missing, with her fate unknown. Sophia felt a lump in her throat. She missed Grandma and George so much. She wanted to tell George that the stuffed toy he gave her was adorable and that she loved it. It wasn't on purpose that she let Jerry throw it away that day. She longed to say sorry face to face. I leaned my head against the window, inside warmed by the fireplace. My life felt like flickering stars, always on the brink of disappearing into the vast galaxy. Thinking about it, we did have some beautiful moments. We once watched the sea, back in the days before Jerry showed up. We lived like a real couple. Sophia got drunk for the first time by the sea, spilling all sorts of nonsense, drunken breath tickling my ear, mixed with the scent of her body wash. My face flushed to my ears, but I pretended to stay composed, telling her to sober up. She seemed happy, babbling on before falling asleep with her head on my lap. The usually authoritative woman was like a big cat letting its guard down, purring away in my arms. That was the first time I realized Sophia's hair was so soft, with a sheen to it. Above, the stars glittered amid the night sky over the ocean. The salty sea breeze clung to me softly but couldn't blow away Sophia's alcohol scent. Her warm breath made my leg itch. I tentatively touched her face, brushing my fingertips over her long eyelashes, and she twitched uneasily, causing me to pull my hand back quickly out of fear. That was the first time I touched her face. I wished we could stay like that forever, but everything ended abruptly when Sophia woke up. We silently agreed to never mention it again. "I'm here to play." A young boy's cheerful voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I rented a small cabin, mainly because it was close to the sea. The boy's father owned the cabin. Their family, upon hearing about my situation, cut my rent in half. The warmth from strangers always melted my cold heart a bit. The boy was named Edward, only 10 years old and often visited for stories. In my spare time, I taught him words. He picked them up quickly, and whenever I praised him, his eyes sparkled with a bright smile. At the orphanage, I rarely saw smiles like that, but seeing him smile softened me a bit. Sophia sometimes looked at me that way too, though mostly, she wore a stern face. She almost believed what Grandma said, but sadly we were destined to part. Her obsessions were too strong. The jade pendant was her heart's knot. Being too fixated on one result can make you ignore those who love you most. My body's getting thinner by the day. I used to go buy groceries myself. Now I have to trouble them to bring me food. My nails and lips are getting paler, and my face is so pale and transparent that I almost don't want to look in the mirror. I've lost my appetite. Whenever I eat, it makes me throw up. I can only sip some water, forcing myself to drink a bit of glucose when it's severe. I'm barely hanging on to life, dragging myself through each day. One day, I felt a little better and decided to write a letter to Sophia. Holding the pen was tough, my handwriting was shaky, and I almost ran out of strength several times, but I pushed through and finished writing. The snow outside was getting heavier. Looking at the heavy snowfall, I suddenly wanted to go out and see it. This might be my last time seeing the ocean. I had a long dream. Dreamt of running from the orphanage in the afternoon, wanting to climb a tree, when suddenly I saw a sack squirming by the river. Upon closer inspection, it looked like a person. I immediately rushed down, quickly grabbed the sack, and tried to drag it ashore. But the person inside instinctively resisted. I struggled for what felt like ages, nearly exhausted. I thought that sack would be the end of me. Somehow, I managed to get the sack onto the shore, untied it, and there was a pale girl's face inside. Without thinking, I started CPR and mouth to mouth. Back then, my intentions were pure, just to save a life. The girl soon woke up, seeing my sun-tanned skin and my messy, wet short hair sticking to my forehead with a big smile. "You're awake." The girl's cheeks turned slightly red. She sat up quickly, asking where we were. I told her it was some remote town. She frowned, then pulled a small jade pendant from her pocket and handed it to me. It was exquisite and green throughout in the sunlight, definitely valuable. "I gotta go now. This jade pendant is for you. Come find me in City C someday. I'll repay you." She stood up, though unsteadily. I found her some clean clothes and put her on a bus. My heart was racing. It only hit me later that I didn't even know her name, and she knew nothing about me. For the first time at 13, I had a secret I couldn't share. Later, I finally saved enough money to search for her in City C. Life in the big city wasn't easy. I lived a hand-to-mouth existence, scrimping on rent, often skipping meals. Most days, I'd sleep away hunger in a dark basement. At my poorest, all I had was that jade pendant. But I still believed in her. One day, passing through an alley, a group of thugs targeted me. They frisked me, then found the pendant. I was so desperate I started crying, pleading for its return. The ringleader snatched it and left in a hurry. I had lost the only thing proving my identity. And then Sophia appeared in my life, as if she'd fallen from the sky. We brushed past each other just like that. She had changed so much, fiercer eyes, upright stance, and she quickly dealt with the thugs. When I thought our paths wouldn't cross again, she made a request. Fate's gears began to turn. I wanted to tell her I lost the pendant, but seeing her indifferent face, not thrilled by our reunion, made me hesitate. I thought we had time. Little did I know, missing that chance meant she'd never trust me again. I can't say if it's regret or sorrow, but every time I looked at her, I couldn't read Sophia's thoughts. During those 3 years, did Sophia ever love me? "I don't care if you have the pendant. You alone are enough." She said this when drunk. I remembered it for a long time, wanting to ask if she meant it. But I'm so tired. It's like my soul's being weighed down. Exhausted, weary. I want a dream I'd never wake from. By the time Sophia found George, the snow around the cabin had melted. She searched all the orphanages to no avail. Even knowing his illness, she refused to believe it. With tears in her eyes, she insisted, "Alive, I need to see her. Dead, I need the body." Yet as time passed, her heart grew hopeless. She knew his illness was terminal. Still, she didn't give up. Finally, at George's place, she hesitated to approach. Asking the landlord if he'd seen a frail boy, he paused before saying, "That tenant has passed." Sophia staggered, nearly losing her balance. Hope that was once rekindled was snuffed out by this news. Her pupils shrunk. "He's dead?" The landlord stroked a boy's head. Edward liked him too. "Heard he was waiting on someone." "You, ma'am?" Sophia watched his lips move, hearing nothing. Her mind went blank, falling into an icy void. Sophia couldn't accept George was gone. Numbly, she asked, "Could you please open the door for me?" Edward stared at her, suddenly speaking. "Are you Sophia? George mentioned you." The cabin's door creaked open again after months. Edward led the worn-out woman into the small room. Inside, aside from a bed and desk, there was nothing else. The campfire had been out for a long time, cold as ice. Sophia wandered around the room, her lips quivering as she struggled to find the right words. She sat by the bed, unable to believe what was happening, and took in the scent on the pillow. There was nothing left, only the dry smell of firewood hung in the air. Her legs felt heavy, like they were weighed down with lead. She reached out to touch the cold bed, realizing George had died right there. She couldn't hold it together anymore and broke down sobbing. "I'm sorry, George. I'm sorry. I'm such a fool." Tears fell onto the pillow, leaving a stained trail. Was her poor George really left to fend for himself in a place like this? He was always so scared of pain. He must have been hurting so much. "This is my fault. I let you down. Was this your punishment for me? To never see you one last time?" Sophia's body hunched over more and more as she wept, her bloodshot eyes unable to see the people around her. "Don't cry." A little boy gently poked her. "George wanted me to give you this letter." Startled, she quickly grabbed the envelope and broke it open. She strained to read the twisted handwriting through her tears. "Sophia, happy marriage. Hope you're not happy. Happy New Year." Besides Sophia's name, the rest was nearly illegible. The date was New Year's Eve. Her hand brushed against a dirty old toy nearby. Sophia trembled as she picked it up, clutching it in her hand. Tears smudged the ink and blurred her vision. She held the toy and let her tightly, unable to make any other sound besides crying. The broken sobs echoed in the small cabin, her heart being wrung with relentless pain. It was a cry of desolation, like a lone wolf mourning the loss of its mate. The little boy looked confused, wondering why George hadn't come to see him. "Do you love him?" She slowly turned back, her voice hoarse. "I did." Edward shook his head. "No, you didn't." "Why? Then why didn't you trust him?" The boy tilted his head. "He told me you didn't believe he was a good person. But I think he is." Sophia stammered, feeling guilty. "No, there were misunderstandings. How come you didn't see he was sick?" The boy lowered his head. "Did you really like him?" It was only then, at that moment, that Sophia suddenly realized. George's death wasn't without warning. He was always frail, his face always pale. His appetite was failing, he couldn't eat. He went through box after box of painkillers, and she hadn't noticed. She didn't even ask why he went to the hospital that day. She was a complete jerk. George had told her, but she dismissed it as whining. She thought he was in cahoots with the doctor to get sympathy from her. Even after his death, she still thought that. Now she couldn't forgive herself for that. Those cruel, hurtful words came out of her mouth, trampling on his heart over and over, and she only just realized it now. Loving someone without trusting them, scolding, ignoring, and neglecting them, all because of a stupid jade pendant. Could that even count as love? Sophia hung her head in shame. She learned a lesson that day from a little boy. She took all of George's things back to her country. But just as she was about to leave, she noticed some faint writing etched into the wooden headboard. "I don't want to die. I want to embrace spring." The writing was so light, it seemed to be penciled in by a man's hand. Sophia couldn't hold back any longer. She crouched down and screamed in anguish. She touched the markings, crying with her entire body trembling. She couldn't imagine what George was feeling when he wrote those words. Despair? Acceptance? Longing? Whatever it was, she would never know. She'd never hold him again. Those unsaid words would follow him to the grave, a lifelong regret etched in her heart. She once thought she had countless chances to make up for it. But George was gone forever on that icy night. Their last encounter was in the dead of night, the snow watching their final farewell. The person she had searched for years was the same George she hastily sent away on the day of their divorce. How ironic. Her true love was right beside her, and she crushed his spirit with her own hands. "I'm sorry, George. I was so wrong." She gasped for air as tears streamed down her face. "I'm really, really sorry. I didn't see you for who you were." But no matter how much she apologized, he could no longer hear any of it. What she said about never seeing each other again had truly come true. Back in her home country, Sophia carried a shadow with her, like a ghost. She had Jerry captured and interrogated him herself, finally unraveling every detail. Each of his words chipped away at her heart. In a rage, she grabbed him by the throat. Just as he was about to pass out, she tossed him aside like trash into a heap of garbage. Terrified, Jerry barely made a sound and tried to make himself invisible. But how could Sophia let him off easily? She didn't want to hear his pleading and cries. Jerry's tears only reminded her of her deceased husband, George. Though they were divorced, Jerry was never worth a single strand of George's hair to her. He had shamelessly taken everything from George. Sophia's eyes burned red with anger. "He deserves to die," she shouted, snatching the jade pendant from Jerry and smashing it to the ground. The jade shattered into pieces, just like her heart. She ground the fragments under her heel with force. Then she kicked Jerry hard, sending him collapsing in pain. Nobody knows exactly what happened in the room that night. All I know is that the next day, a man with scars all over his body and dying was lying on the side of the road and was sent to the hospital by kind people. Due to severe torture and shock, the doctor diagnosed Jerry with severe paranoia. Sophia put him in the most strict mental hospital. Jerry will spend the rest of his life here. But even so, the woman still didn't feel a bit relieved. She always had a breath in her heart, stuck in her throat, unable to go up or down. She was angry with herself. Sophia went to Maria's grave to drink every day. She got herself drunk, and then lay down in front of the tombstone and cried. Next to it stood George's cenotaph. He left nothing, and Sophia could only put all his belongings in the grave. "Grandma, I miss you. I have nothing. Even George is gone. I am alone." The woman, who is usually cold and silent, now burst into tears, crying like a child. She lost her parents at an early age and was raised by her grandmother. She always thought that she could accept her grandmother's departure just like she accepted her parents' departure. But Sophia was wrong. Now she even lost George. She lost everyone who loved her. "I was wrong. I should have listened to you." She was half drunk and half awake, as if she saw her grandmother shaking her head in pain in front of her. She wished this moment was real. If only it could be done again. The woman knelt on the ground, ignoring her pants stained by mud, and kept slapping herself in the face. She seemed to feel no pain, and she said sorry every time she slapped. She finally found out that she loved George. Sophia was like a coward, and finally dared to admit her feelings. Unfortunately, everything was too late. The doll that refused to be returned, the drunken truth on the beach, the forbearance and carelessness in her eyes. Sophia had already secretly fallen in love with George in these 3 years. Occasionally, she would think, it would be great if he was her lifesaver. The man's bright eyes would appear in her dreams from time to time. Now that she knew the truth, the two faces overlapped perfectly. After more than 10 years of not seeing each other, he turned out to be so handsome. Only those bright eyes had not changed. She was such a fool. After 3 years of living together, she couldn't recognize his face. Another year of spring and snow melting. The leaves sprouted new buds, and the flowers bloomed again. The wind was no longer cold and biting, and everything was awakened again. But Sophia's heart was like a bitter winter. The spring in her heart would never come again. Sophia was absent-minded every day, and she either drank or hid in the study in depression. She read George's letter over and over again, and she couldn't get enough of it. Not only that, she also hired a tattoo artist to tattoo the content in her heart on her chest. In the past, she looked down on this kind of trick of a young boy who was in love for the first time. Now, Sophia looked at the tattooed words and felt a soreness in her eyes. Would this bring her closer to his heart? Thinking that George liked to watch the sea, Sophia took his doll and looked at all the famous coasts. Just as he fulfilled his wish, she took him on a trip. The woman knew very well that this was just a way to relieve her stress. She missed him too much. She thought about him all the time. She passed by George's room countless times, but she never had the courage to push the door in. She often muttered to herself to the doll, talking about past stories and memories, and confessing to the doll like a madman. She said, "George, I like you. Whether there is a jade pendant or not, I like you." But the only answer she got was the silence in the frozen air. Sophia's will became more and more depressed, and she was in a daze, with a look of soullessness in her eyes. She paced in front of George's room again and again, and finally made up her mind to turn the doorknob. With a click, the long-sealed room finally saw the light of day. After the man left, Sophia ordered that no servants were allowed to enter, not even Jerry. There were still tiny dust flying in the air, and the heavy curtains were drawn open, and the sky suddenly brightened. What a beautiful and warm afternoon, like the clean and bright smile of the man many years ago. Sophia felt no warmth on her body, but cold all over. She didn't take anything away. The clothes in the closet, the daily necessities on the dressing table, and the expensive watches on the shelf were all covered with a thin layer of dust. Sophia looked around the room in a panic, and tears had already fallen without knowing when. She suddenly saw something glowing in front of the dressing table. When she got closer, it was a water blue gem brooch. This was the birthday gift Sophia designed for him last year. He didn't take it away. George casually mentioned that he had never seen blue snow, so she had an idea and stayed up all night to design a snowflake-shaped gemstone brooch for him as a birthday gift. It turned out that love had already permeated these details, but she was still unaware of it. She still remembers George's surprise and excitement when he received the gift. The boy's eyes were shining with excitement. He hugged Sophia happily and whispered in her ear, "Sophia, you are so good to me. No one is so good to me except you and Maria. But I prefer white snow, because every snowflake floating between heaven and earth seems to be writing your name. Sophia." "George." She laughed dumbly, tears in her eyes. "Isn't this also writing your name?" Thinking of this, the woman finally couldn't suppress the overwhelming sadness and knelt on the ground and cried loudly. She hated herself for realizing it too late. She hated herself for not daring to face her heart. If I had found out earlier, would the result be different? They were together even without the jade pendant's guidance. But why didn't I find out? They were just one step away from happiness. But in the end, it was all just a dream. When I woke up from the dream, it was all gone, and only tears reminded me that he had been there briefly. This might be the punishment for trampling on my sincerity. Sophia accepted it. She held the brooch tightly, letting the sharp gem cut her palm and bleed. Felt like there was no point in living. Epilogue. I woke up hazily and found myself in a mess. I couldn't tell where I was. My consciousness was blurred, and there seemed to be a pool of paste in my mind. The fog in the distance gradually became clear, and I found Sophia appeared in my sight. I was watching a movie like an audience. It seemed that this was not my story. I saw her put my model car upright by the bathtub, and the blood dripping from her wrist gradually dyed the whole bathtub red. I had no expression on my face. I heard her voice as if it came from far away. "George, do you know? Actually, I was not drunk that night. I like you." The woman smiled gently, put her wrist in the bathtub, and then soaked in it with the calmness before death. It seemed that a string in my heart was gently touched. A golden door suddenly opened behind me. I saw Maria waving at me with a smile. There was helplessness on her face. "Why did you come so early?" I turned around and walked towards the door without hesitation. Sophia, there is no next life. We have no future.